Hello gamers and gameheads, what is going on? My name is Tenek127 and welcome back to another video. And guys, in today's video I want to talk to you guys about Valkyrie Elysium and give you all my first impressions of it. However, before we get into today's video, I do want to give a special thank you and a special shout out to Square Enix for sponsoring today's video and hooking me up with a review key of Valkyrie Elysium. But you guys know how this goes. Just because they give me a review key does not mean I cannot say anything bad about the game. The whole point of this video is to showcase the game and talk about the things I like, don't like, and stuff like that. That is what Square Enix is asking me to do. So do keep that in mind whenever I mention sponsored content in this video or any videos in the future. We are looking at PlayStation 5 gameplay in today's video to showcase my first impressions, as well as the gameplay video that I'm going to be uploading alongside this. But spoiler alert, the gameplay video that I will be uploading alongside of this one does contain what looks like to be one of the major enemies you'll be seeing throughout the game and stuff like that. There are some minor story spoilers in there, so I did want to warn you guys before you go ahead and watch that video. You know, if you plan on buying this game, you don't want to be spoiled or anything like that. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about how I feel about Valkyrie Elysium. So I'm going to say straight up, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, Valkyrie Elysium was probably one of my most anticipated games this year. I've been excited about a lot of the RPGs that Square Enix has been bringing out. Of course, you know, they got things like the Crisis Core remake, Star Ocean, and Valkyrie Elysium was probably at the top of my list besides the Crisis Core remake, of course, if you guys know me. And so far, Valkyrie Elysium, honestly, it has not disappointed me. By the time you guys are watching this video, I've spent roughly 8 to 10 hours with the game. So definitely not enough to do a full review, but definitely more than enough to give you a first impressions and let you know how I am feeling about some things. So I've put a list here of, you know, some things I like and don't like and some suggestions I have for the developers for the future of this game, you know, for whatever plans they may have for it, or if they don't, and just launch it and leave it like it is. But anyway, if you haven't noticed by looking at today's video, the first and most obvious thing about Valkyrie Elysium is it has amazing combat. There is no secret to that. There is nothing shy about it. It is that nice button mashy hack and slash combat full of particle effects, full of special effects, all kinds of different elemental attacks and everything. This game has amazing combat. If you've played any, you know, good solid action RPG with fun button mashy, slice them up, small attack, heavy attack style combat, this is it. There's a variety of different weapons, from swords to great swords to polearms, and not to mention you can swap these weapons on the fly. You can equip up to 2 weapons at once, so you can use maybe a short sword if you want to, and you can use a pole arm in your other arm if you want to. You just simply press on the D-pad and you swap weapons right there mid-combat, and boom. Another awesome thing about Valkyrie Elysium is the fact that it's not quite open world, but it's pretty close. There are really massive areas to explore, lots of side tasks and side quests to take on, and there's also a little hub space where you can go to train, practice against enemies you've fought previously. Of course, that's where you go to visit Odin and stuff like that, and he's basically your main quest giver, which is also going to tie into something that does annoy me a little bit about the game, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But Valkyrie Elysium's areas are nice, big, broad, plenty to explore. Now, the questing in the game is pretty straightforward. I will say that it's kind of like, you know, a lot of point A to point B to boss fight, and then back to this point and that point to boss fight, yada yada yada. But overall, the areas are large. There are extra things for you to do. It's not just, you know, you running through some narrow little spot to a checkpoint and stuff like that. There's options to explore. There's extra enemies to take on. There's hidden treasures and stuff like that around the world. So make sure you are exploring and checking things out in this game and not just running from objective to objective to objective, because they have added a lot of things to do. Probably one of my best and most favorite features about this game are the boss fights in here. Now, I will be showing a boss fight in the gameplay showcase I'm also uploading alongside this first impressions here. But the boss fights in here, they're really big, they're meaty, they have awesome soundtracks, and the best of all, they are mechanic filled. You can't just run up to a boss, slash away all day with the best stats and think you're going to win. No, you have to back off, you have to dodge, you have to watch for different crazy AoE mechanics and different moves and different types of elements of magic they could use against you and things like that. You have to learn to parry. There is a lot of depth to this game's combat and the boss battles, and I honestly love that. Another thing about that, speaking of the bosses that this game really does have going for, are the companions. The companions that you earn in here are awesome. Now, Spoiler alert, the first companion I did earn from this game, he actually came from a boss fight, so I have a firm feeling that's how a lot of the companions you're going to earn in the game are probably gotten. They come from the soul of like some crazy boss that you have to take down, and it turns that person back to a human or a Valkyrie to help you out or whatever. I'm not sure 100% that's how it works, but judging by the first NPC that started working with me, I'm going to assume how that works. I also have an idea or a thought that Square Enix could have used to make this system a bit more intense later on. If you haven't noticed by now or heard anything about Valkyrie Elysium, it does seem to have a pretty intense story. And you begin to tell that roughly once you start Chapter 2 of the game and you run into one of the main enemies that you'll probably be dealing with for a good amount of the game, or at least that's the impression that the boss gives you. So the story starts to feel really intense pretty quickly. I'm not going to lie, the tutorial is a bit on the long and grindy side, but overall, it's a pretty fun experience. Another good thing about Valkyrie Elysium is, and this really doesn't go too much as credit towards the game, but if you don't want to read any reviews or take my first impressions at face glance or anything like that, there's a free demo of the game for you to try on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. So you don't have to believe anything I'm saying in this video. You can simply download it for free and try it for yourself. Now, finally, last but not least, one of my favorite features about Valkyrie Elysium is how much customization there is. Now, yes, you can't customize Valkyrie, the character, herself, but there is a lot of things you can customize about her. Like I told you guys, there's all kinds of different weapon types in here, swords, polearms, and stuff like that, but they all have and can have different elemental attributes. So you can have ones that use ice, fire, water, poison, and different things like that. And not to mention, there's a nice fat skill tree where you can customize different things about your build. You can make yourself more physical based. You can make yourself more magic based. You can make yourself more healing and defensive based. There's all kinds of different things you can do. And not to mention, these weapons are all levelable with the same materials that you get to upgrade Valkyrie herself. There's not, a typical like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leveling system per se. It's more so just taking the resources you get into the game and putting them into your stats. So you'll need a certain type of different stones to increase, let's say, Valkyrie's attack power. You may need 50 of a blue stone, 65 of a green stone, 30 of a purple stone, stuff like that. And you guys are, it's a pretty simple system showing you how it works and different things like that. But those are the things, that I really love about Valkyrie Elysium. Now, I only have a few complaints about this game. They're nothing too crazy or major or anything like that. And the one thing that I was kind of concerned about was when I first booted up and even tried the demo on PlayStation 5, were there no graphical options. There wasn't an option for, like a 4K resolution mode or a higher frame rate mode and stuff like that. Now, granted, the game does run at a solid frame rate. It does feel, like purely smooth 60 FPS most of the time. I play on a 1080p 144 hertz monitor, so unfortunately I can't tell what it's like when you play the game in 4K or anything like that, but I do feel like, because of this game's sort of, like cel-shaded animated style, that they could probably push a lot more graphical features out of the PlayStation 5, especially the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. I don't know about, but the PS5 definitely, I feel like, some graphical options would definitely make things appeal a bit more to people. Now, one other complaint I kind of had was, like I told you guys, there is a at-home hub and stuff like that, a little hub world where you can go to train, practice against different enemies. Odin gives you your quests and things like that. Despite how, like open worldish the game kind of feels and how big the areas are and stuff like that, it does begin to feel like a kind of fetch quest kind of game after a while, after you do the first couple chapters and stuff like that. You literally go do your mission, come back to the hub world, talk to Odin, he'll give you something else to do. You go do that mission, you kill the boss, you come back, you talk to Odin. Again, it feels a little bit repetitive at times, and occasionally you'll come back to the hub world and there'll be like a side quest or something for you to do in a previous level from like an NPC you may have talked to from that level or something like that. Like one of the missions I'm actually doing right now in this video was a side quest where there was a special ring that I needed to go find for the spirit of a little girl or something like that, because I'd ran into that NPC before I finished the the mission. And the only other thing about this game is, and you guys have probably noticed it during the gameplay, is the camera can be a little bit clunky at times. There were so many times during combat, you know, especially with a lot of particle effects and different things going on, my camera would easily get stuck in like a corner or like a bad angle and stuff like that, and it would get really annoying, especially when I'm fighting like, you know, 2, 3, 4, and 5 enemies at a time. That can be a little bit But other than that, guys, I really don't have many complaints. Like, I do hope, you know, the game gets some graphical options in the future. I do think it would have been kind of cool if the companion system, if they kind of did something like maybe Nier Automata does, like the spirits of dead players or something like that who have played the game could also like hop in your game and help you out, or you could summon them or some kind of thing. I think that would have been a really cool companion system as well. But I do like what they have going on here, and honestly, guys, I'm really enjoying Valkyrie Elysium. I'm probably going to stream it some, and if you guys want to see more videos on it, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. But anyway, guys, y'all enjoyed today's video, smash that like button. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out. Have a good one.